This is an instructional video on how to remove the belt and deck and or head and tail rollers on the ETR-ETRx treadmill. First thing we're going to do is lift up the frame rail boots. This will expose the Phillips head screws located here and here that lock in the side bed cover and also the motor cover. You might want to use a small stubby number 2 Phillips head screwdriver or a right angle screwdriver like this one. Remember, you don't have to take these screws all the way out, just loosen them up. Next order of business is to loosen up the tail roller and remove the end caps on either side of the tail roller. For this, you're going to need a 1/4-inch hex key. Take them all the way out. And use your number 2 Phillips to remove the Phillips head screws here. Once you have your tail roller bolt out, you can just go ahead and remove the end cap. Now that you have the end caps removed, you can go ahead and just remove the side bed cover. And we're going to perform the same procedure on the opposing side. Okay, now we can remove the rear tail roller. To expose the motor cover, what you need to do is remove the neck grommet, which peels right up, and then also this cap here that just pops up. Now we're going to remove the front 2 Phillips head screws. I'm going to use my electric screwdriver to save time. Now we can take out the motor cover. Next, what we'll need to do is remove the front bumper. So the Phillips head screws need to be loosened up. They don't have to be completely removed, but just loosened. Also, these 2 screws found at the base of the bumper need to be completely removed in order to extract the bumper. Now we can pull off the bumper. The reason why we pulled off the front bumper here is so that way we can access this T-handle, which will allow us to loosen up the tension on the drive belt. So go ahead and pull on the T-handle and give it a turn 90 degrees counterclockwise. Now we're going to remove the Delrin rods found on each corner of the deck so we can go ahead and remove it. And we're going to use a 5/32 hex key to extract them. It's also important to remember the orientation on which you remove the Delrin rods. Some of these, which actually have 2 sides here and here where you see these spacers, these are for the rear, where this one only has 1, which is for the front. Now that the Delrin rods are removed, what we're going to do is remove the head roller. So what you need to do is grab a 1/4-inch hex key to extract this bolt here, and you will be able to remove the head roller. Grab a 1/4-inch hex key. Okay, now it's time to remove the drive belt. What I like to do is bend this inwards, so like this, and walk it off. Once you get to a certain point, fold it this way, which is counterclockwise, and then walk it completely off. Now that it's off the head roller completely here, then you can remove it from the motor pulley, which is found right here. Keep it wrapped on the inside of the pulley, so that way it makes it easier for you to remove the head roller. Now that we have the head roller already loosened up here, what you can do is just grab the drive belt, lift it up, hold it in this manner, and pull. When I'm pulling out the head roller, I always like to keep the drive belt around it, especially if you're not going to replace the head roller. So that way you make sure that you don't forget it when it's time to put it back in. Now it's time to remove the deck and belt. What you got to do is pick it up from the back, slide it backwards. Take it out. Now that the deck has been removed, it's a good time to check the deck rubbers to make sure that they're good on both sides. Okay, now it's time to reinstall the deck and running belt. Just a note, the Star Trek logo actually will tell you the direction of the belt. The belt is actually directional. So these arrows here need to be facing backwards towards the tail roller, and that's the direction of the way the belt is supposed to run. If you have this in reverse, the belt itself can tear apart from the seams. So it's very important that you have these arrows facing towards the tail roller. Okay, now it's time to install the deck and belt. So always give yourself just a little bit of breathing room. So you don't want to have the deck all the way forward to where this actually matches this. You want to actually just get a little bit back here so that way you have optimal room to install your head roller. Okay, next what we're going to do is install the head roller. I already have the drive belt already hooked around, and you always want to have it like this because this will aid you in being able to handle the head roller. So slip it underneath the running belt here, just run it through. Okay, now what I have to do is I have to line up the head roller bolt hole with this bracket slot here. What I'm going to use is a hex key and go ahead and just turn the shaft so that way this lines up. And I'm going to go ahead and insert the bolt to lock it in. If you need to make any adjustments, slide this a little over here. Start to pre-thread it. Then use your ratchet fitted with a 1/4 inch hex key to tighten it up. Next what we're going to do is wrap the drive belt. So grab the drive belt itself, slip it around the motor pulley, and get it completely wrapped around it. You also want to pay attention to make sure that all the teeth are pairing up with the poly V's on the drive belt. Once you have it wrapped around the motor pulley, what you want to do is go small to big. So you want to start it on the head roller and just push the motor pulley forward and apply pressure going to the right to lock the poly V belt onto the head roller. Next, what you're going to do is grab the T handle and you're going to turn it counterclockwise a 1/4 turn to pull it through the hole and then let it lock itself in place. Okay, now what we're going to do is adjust the deck from the rear. Make sure that we push it so that way the deck rubber and the deck itself meet. Okay, let's get it just about there. Okay, now it's time to insert the Delrin rods. Make sure you remember the orientation. This one here is going to go to the front left corner. As you can tell, as you put it in this position, it's actually going to have the spacer, which you see here, facing against the frame. After you've installed the deck, you always want to make sure that you have a nice even gap along the entire edge. As long as you have a nice even gap on either side, you shouldn't have any issues with rubbing noises or anything like that. Okay, now it's time to install the tail roller. What you want to do is you want to pull back on the belt as far back as possible. You just go ahead and load it by getting the shaft lined up with the rear bracket on either side. Next thing you want to do is install the side bed covers on either side. You just want to get them in their spot. It's not a full install. Also move the belt over the finger guards. Just like with the head roller, what we want to do is we want to line up the screw hole for the shaft for the tail roller with the through hole from the frame. So just give it a turn by hand and that'll line it up. Next thing we're going to do here is install the end caps. So get your screws, get it all nice and lined up here. So make sure that the side deck cover fits this lip underneath the end cap first. Then insert your screw and pre-thread it into the tail roller. I'm going to perform the same procedure on the right hand side. If it's being really difficult to get the side bed cover underneath the end cap, what you want to do is apply pressure as much as you possibly can and then use your ratchet and just bring it in over the top. Next is to go ahead and tighten up the Phillips head screws on the end caps. Now it's time to install the front bumper and tighten up the front 6 screws here. It's always good to apply pressure by squeezing prior to actually tightening up these screws. Don't forget the 2 screws down here at the bottom as well. After the bumper is installed, you can go ahead and install the motor cover. The reason why you wanted to squeeze on the bumper is so that way these screw holes here will line up with the motor cover. So we're going to go ahead and install the cover screws here. I'm going to go ahead and put down the handrail boot on either side. Now that we have the belt nice and snug, it's time to tension the belt. What you want to make sure is that when you touch on the belt, it actually goes down, and so it's hovering above the deck itself. And now it's time to tension the belt. And what we're going to utilize is these scribe marks here, which are located on either side of the running belt. First thing you want to do is get the scribe mark to actually match the end of the deck itself. Now that we have the belt pre-tensioned, what we're going to do is try to square it up here. So the main focus is using the masking tape as a measuring tool. What we have is 2 scribe marks. The original scribe mark that's found on the belt itself, which goes in line here. And we also have another mark, which is 3/8 of an inch or 9.5 millimeters up from this scribe mark here, which is aligned with the edge of the deck. So what you do is, to tighten up the belt, is you use the tail roller screws found on either side, and you just bring the scribe mark back until it aligns with the deck. Now that scribe mark is aligned with the edge of the deck, so that is considered proper tension. We're going to perform the same procedure on the opposing side. Afterwards, we're going to perform a stomp test just to confirm that the belt is properly tensioned and it won't slip. After you tension the belt, it's always good to track the unit. So what you do is, to make sure that the belt is tracking straight, you want to make sure that it's tracking cleanly in between the crowns of the tail rollers here. So what we want to do is bring the unit to about 2.5 to 3 miles an hour just to gauge and see if the belt is tracking to the right or to the left. This is the point where you can make any necessary adjustments that you need to by using this tail roller screws in order to make your adjustments. Now remember, if the belt is tracking towards the left, then you would tighten up the left tail roller screw. If it's tracking more to the right, then you tighten or loosen up the right tail roller screw. Afterwards, to confirm the tension is right, again redo a stomp test.